Hi, welcome or welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Maria Andrea, and this is me getting back into the swing of Thursday night poetry. For the month of August, I am drawing inspiration for these poetry readings from an event that I'm hosting on my channel called August, in which I'm reading YA literature and coming of age stories. And I'm also drawing inspiration from the reading event hosted by our beloved friend here on BookTube, Marilyn Maya Mendoza, and she's hosting the Phenomenal Woman reading event. And the Phenomenal Woman reading event is inspired by an all-time phenomenal woman herself, Maya Angelou, poet, writer, memoirist, activist, essayist, just all around incredible woman. And I am happy to celebrate phenomenal women and happy to share poetry that draws on the joys, sometimes the angst, sometimes the fears or the confusion or the nostalgia that comes with reading coming of age, young adult poems. I will end this video by sharing some poems written by a phenomenal woman about Olympic sport. So, in celebration of the Olympics. So, let's get started. The first poem I want to share tonight as a way to kick off this month's reading of coming of age and phenomenal women is the poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I chose this very well-known poem from Maya Angelou's collection, particularly because this is the entryway to Maya Angelou. I remember being a high school student and reading this for the first time. I think that in high schools in the United States, a lot of English classes will introduce this poem, and I think it's fitting. I think that it is appropriate for students, and it definitely influenced me when I read it, so thought I'd share it tonight. So here is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream, till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun's rays, and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with the fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But the caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. I believe that Maya Angelou's first two memoirs, the first one being I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and then the second one being Gather in My Name, I think it's the title. I believe those two are coming of age memoirs. And so Yeah, that just keep thinking about freedom and what that means. So that was I Know Where the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. The next poem I want to read is also on my phone. It's in my Kindle. And this one is from the poetry anthology titled Poemhood. Let me read the whole title to you. It's Poemhood. Our Black Revival, History, Folklore, and the Black Experience, a young adult poetry collection edited by Amber McBride. Amber McBride, Taylor Byas, and Erica Martin. The poem I want to read, it's titled Track 8, Grandmother Goddess by Renee. A crown of ashen waves gleamed limp from her scalp as a cascade of silky locks, like the silver tinsel she hung around the old Christmas tree. Wrinkles on her forehead formed mountains capped by brown sugar peaks, elevating wisdom. As adventure worth the seek, glittering gold patches seemed as sunflower fields along her jade-roped veins that were speed bumps kissing scorn boils brewing on the map of her hands, brewing, bearing the remnants of a stubborn, rugged, wooden washing board that left splinters in your pinky if you caught it against the grain. Lye soap burning, igniting layers of skin, brilliant bursts blistering as buds of raspberries, no matter to a woman who logged people's laundry in pounds, not loads. Her eyes' mahogany windows gleamed every time she looked at someone. Her gaze spoke of triumph, a secret held against all the world that a rock-studded path did not sink her. She trudged on grandly for all to see. She was a goddess, undoubtedly, capturing compassion in her arms, always extended, opened to others as her heart was toward giving, even if that meant sacrificing necessities she would never acknowledge. A goddess who believed your life is what you make of it. And what you make of it is a gift from God, she said once, winking, wide mouth cracked open, her 30 pearl teeth lined up neatly as if on a necklace string. The missing molars got in phantom formation the way black girls becoming women make something out of nothing. Call it beauty. Name it special. Say her name, goddess, undoubtedly. And I've got the rivers of my grandmother goddess flowing through me. Outro. In this ode, the speaker clearly sees their grandmother as a goddess, a woman of immeasurable strength, fortitude, and love. The poet goes so far as to say, and I've got the rivers of my grandmother goddess flowing through me. Through imagery that feels almost dreamlike and metaphors that hint at the infinite nature of stars and the grandeur of mountains, we see a woman larger than life and highlight the importance of the matriarch in Black culture. So this is track 8, Grandmother Goddess, from this YA and poetry anthology titled Poemhood. I'm really excited. I will continue to read poems from this collection throughout the month of August. Next, the books that I own in my personal collection is Plantains, and Our Becoming, poems by Melania, Luisa, Marte. Marte. The poem that I want to read tonight from this particular collection is titled Telling Time. I didn't talk about Melania Luisa Marte, and maybe I should. So this book, this collection, is blurbed by Elizabeth Acevedo, who's one of my favorite poets. And Elizabeth Acevedo writes, a full-throated war cry, both a request for anointment and the responding benediction. Oh, bendición. Melissa Lozada Oliva, author of Dreaming of You, said, Marte's prose is all at once prayer and captivating lecture, a song that will stay ringing in your ears and refuse to leave. A little bit about the poet. Melania Luisa Marte is an American writer, poet, and musician from New York. Her viral poem, Afro-Latina, was featured by Instagram in their IGTV for National Poetry Month and has garnered more than 9 million views. Her work has also been featured by Anti-Latina, Afro-Punk, The Root, Teen Vogue, Telemundo, Remezcla, Pop Sugar, and elsewhere. She currently lives with her partner and child between the Dominican Republic and Texas. It says, in this imaginative, blistering poetry collection, poet and musician Melania Luisa Marte looks at the identities and histories of the Dominican Republic and Haiti to celebrate and center the Black diasporic experience. Through the exploration of themes like self-love, nationalism, displacement, generational trauma, and ancestral knowledge, this collection uproots stereotypes while creating a new joyous vision for Black identity and personhood. She asks of herself and of her readers, what does it mean to tend to your own words and your own record, to build upon the legacies of your ancestors? Moving from New York to Texas, to the Dominican Republic, and to Haiti, Plantains and Our Becoming examines the legacies of colonialism and racism, but never shies away from highlighting the beauty and joy that comes from celebrating who you are and where you are from. So, let me read a poem from this collection that I thought was fitting. A lot of poems are about identity and coming of age, and this one in particular I feel is very appropriate for young adulthood and coming of age. It's titled Telling Time. I am 4, in parentheses. My mother is packing 2 bags and dragging 3 kids. The cab she called is downstairs. She is trembling and I am crying. I tell her I want to stay with Papi, but she has decided to leave him and his fists back home. She tells me, time will tell you the truth about your father. I am 5, in parentheses. My mother sneaking a cigarette in the restroom, nervously picking at her chapped lips. She has not been very loving to herself today. Her skin is pleading for water, but there is a drought in her mind. Her new man goes to make love to his ex-wife. I am 6, in parentheses. My mother is crying into her phone, yelling, please don't go, to a man I'm not sure she is even truly in love with. Somehow, she has convinced herself she needs him. That same night she threatens to take pills at the thought of living without him. He stays. A part of the woman I thought she was leaves. I am 8, in parentheses. And fatherless or father gone or father dead, searching for the 200-pound teddy bear that used to take me and my brothers to McDonald's on weekends. Every now and then I remember his funeral and cry in confusion. In retaliation, I throw away the pink jewelry box with the heart-shaped clock he gifted me. I say, what's the use of telling time if it means you run out? I am 10, in parentheses. and afraid that this body will never morph into something pretty enough to be saved. You know, like the fairy tales. Like my favorite princess cassette, like the Spice Girls when they sang, "If you want to be my lover." Like when my mother pushes me to be super smart, convinced I can't survive off beauty as she has done. I am 12 in parentheses and wishing to die, telling my body that if it truly wanted us to live, it would lose 30 pounds and brain cells before the start of ninth grade. When begging didn't work, the depression and fat shaming continued. I thought I would never make it to graduation. I counted the days and hours until my emancipation from the public school system and the bullies who poked fun at their own poor, misshapen mirrors. I am 15 in parentheses and afraid that I've grown too big for my own skin. Everything about my existence feels wrong and untimely. I want to die, but instead I write. Time follows me. I am 18 in parentheses and anemic. The weight is finally off, but I still don't feel pretty enough for this world. I give up and decide to be brilliant instead. I decide I will be a famous writer someday. And I jot down story ideas and poems in between breaks as a cashier at Fine Fair. Working a dead-end job is fundamental to the authenticity of this time-proof experience. I am 21 in parentheses. My mother has healed her anxiety, but is triggered when she sees the signs in me, a water fountain of insecurities tearing into oblivion. She begins to feel as if time has betrayed us both. I am 26 in parentheses and finally feel like I love myself enough to say yes to living a grand life I am proud of. I move to the island that makes me feel the freest, and I marry the man who feeds me mangoes. I shower myself in flowers of self-care and get paid to write stories that make me dream. Time no longer feels like my enemy. Time has become my friend. I am 28 in parentheses, finally having morphed into ice cream worth scooping. People applaud when I speak or breathe or smile. I finally know how to tell time and let time tell me everything I want to hear. You will bend time. Time will be your only true friend. Tell time what you want and time will deliver. Time will tell you the truth about your destiny. Trust in the timing of you. Phew, that was a good one. Okay, this next collection I'm reading from is one I checked out from the public library today. It is titled The Sidewalk Racer and Other Poems of Sports and Motion by Lillian Morrison. I saw this book at the public library and I was so excited to pick it up. It is about sports. And all day today has been a day of excitement in my hometown. One of the swimmers in the Olympics, one of the Olympic athletes, is from my hometown, and there were watch parties all over the area today. And everybody was talking about the watch party, the excitement, the pride that one of our own is competing in Paris, and I just couldn't help but want to, add some sporty poetry to this video. So, but a little bit about Lillian Morrison. I thought this was interesting. Lillian Morrison is the coordinator of Young Adult Services for the New York Public Library. The author of 2 volumes of poetry, she is also represented in major anthologies. She is well known for her collections of folk rhymes and for Sprints and Distances, the highly acclaimed anthology of sports poetry. Of the sidewalk racer, Miss Morrison says, I love rhythms, the body movement implicit in poetry, explicit in sports, and there are emotions connected with sports, sometimes a kind of transcendence and beauty one wants to catch, one turns naturally to poetry to express these things. So I thought it was really interesting how Lillian Morrison is the coordinator of Young Adult Services, and I am all about young adult literature these days of August. So it felt very fitting, and I want to read two from this. They're short. And again, sticking with phenomenal women, I picked two that were about amazing, phenomenal female athletes. So here is the women's 400 meters. Skittish, they flex knees, drum heels, and shiver at the starting line, waiting the gun to pour them over the stretch like a breaking wave. Bang! They're off, careening down the lanes, each chased by her own bright tiger. I love that. I love that image of being chased by her own bright tiger. And there's this photo in here of sprinters in like a relay race. And then the next poem I want to read from this collection is titled The Spearthrower. And it says, she walks alone to the edge of the park and throws into the bullying dark her javelin of light, her singing sign, her signed song, and that runner may run far and long her quick laps on the curving track. Then the sprinters surge and the hurler leap and the vaulters soar, clear the highest bar, and the discus fly as the great crowds cry to their heroines, come on! I love that. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's it for this Thursday night poetry. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these poetry readings, and I certainly enjoy them, but I'm a poetry nerd. Thanks again for watching. Hasta la próxima.